All right, boys, it's a big day. Blizzard has granted us some content. They told us earlier in This Week in WoW that they were going to give us a sneak peek at an early look, they said, for hero talents for Druid, Hunter, Mage, and Priest. To my knowledge, they've released one of the hero talents for all of these specs. So 1 out of 3 for Hunter, Mage, and Priest, and 1 out of 4 for Druid. This is kind of what I expected. You know, I don't expect them to like release all this information at once. I imagine they probably don't finish full classes at once. And really, I mean, we have like 6 months until this comes out. I would really rather them release these in smaller portions to get more dedicated feedback to them, especially once alpha is out. They did this really well with talent trees. Like, instead of coming out with all the talent trees all at once, they came out with them like weeks apart, and they varied in quality, but what it allowed for is very direct feedback with nothing else going on. So it wasn't like confused with other things. And it was very, very direct. And I think that was really good, especially during the testing cycle. So I hope they do that with these two. All right, so where do we start? Let's start with, Dark Ranger is a big pog one, right? Dark Ranger is one that people were looking forward to for a while. Dark Ranger Hunter. You have made a pact with dark magic and have embraced hatred and necromancy for your own personal benefit. Strike from the shadows and assault your enemies with necrotic and shadow-empowered abilities. Enemies who fall from your abilities further empower your dark energies. Who fall from your abilities further... Okay, so you get, like, killing blows with them or something? Okay, this is interesting. That sounds fun. Let's read it. I'm gonna give it... I heard some people say, like, oh, it doesn't seem that good. I'm gonna, like, just... I think the best way for me to do this is to completely ignore any other opinions I've had or I've heard until I actually read these myself. So that's what I'm going to do. So Dark Ranger is a cross between BM and MM. So it should be a decently popular one because it doesn't include a link with the very, very unpopular spec of survival. So this is like, basically, hunters are... 95% of hunters are BM or MM hunters, and this is 50% of the choices you'll have for either one of those. So this should be most likely the most played hunter spec, like over an expansion, regardless of tuning. Just by looking at it like that. All right, so the first thing they get is Black Arrow. Fire a black arrow on your target, causing it to take shadow damage every 2 seconds for 16 seconds. And each time Black Arrow deals damage, you have a chance to reset the cooldown of aim shot or barb shot. So just from just a basic standpoint, I like this. I love... My favorite version of Hunter ever, by far, was Survival back in, like, Kata and Mob, where it was just... You had Black Arrow up on your target, and you got Explosive Shot procs from it, and, you know, you multi-shot, and it puts Serpent Sting on everything. Like, I mean, that's just fucking banger. That was super fun to play. So hopefully they build more on that. I like having, like, a little dot. Although it doesn't reset Explosive Shot, which makes sense. And now it's resetting Aim Shot or Barb Shot, depending on what spec you're playing. Aim Shot and Rapid Fire deal 15% increased damage. Barb Shot and Kill Command, okay, just a little damage. No, that's not relevant. The choice nodes are usually more interesting, but let's go all the way down the left side first. When Black Arrow resets the cooldown of an ability, gain 15 focus. Oh, let's just bark. Let's bark, yeah. What's up? What's up? What? No one's here. Oh, someone is here. Oh, never mind. Right, yeah, I was gaslighting them. That was crazy. There actually was someone here. So you have a choice between Black Arrow resetting the cooldown of, or when it resets that, you just gain some focus. So just not a ton of focus, but just over the course of a fight, this will just give you more focus gen. And then let's see if they give you an interesting choice node with that. When a target affected by Black Arrow dies, the cooldown... Oh, even... That's... Oh, man, I wish you could have both of those. The second one's great. Like, especially in Mythic Plus. Because, like, you're still always going to want to have it up. Actually, I don't know. This is more of, like, a single target thing. It depends on how much damage Black Arrow does. I imagine if this is your... It has to be decent. Even though it has synergy, it has to be, like, an okay part of your damage with really high uptime. Looks like 50%. Yeah, if it's 50% uptime, it should even do more damage. You know what? I don't like this being a choice node. I feel like Grave Reaper should just definitely be built in. Like, this should just be part of Black Arrow. I wish you didn't have to actually select this. Because, like, if you have a 30-second thing that is giving you procs off of whatever your main ability or one of your main abilities is, that's like a flow of gameplay that you want to have. You don't want it to feel like a cooldown, right? So like, I can imagine a pull about to end, you know, maybe it'll end in 10 seconds and Black Arrow's off cooldown. You shouldn't hold it for that long. That would feel really bad. Like you should, I would be a fan of Grave Reaper just being straight up built into Black Arrow and not be a choice node. And if not, in most content, I think you'll just take it. Besides like maybe pure single target raid bosses. It's not even a single target versus AoE node. It's like a slight benefit to your resource economy, or just something that should be on the ability at all times, I think. But I don't know. Anyways, okay. So when True Shot or Call of the Wild is active, Black Arrow deals damage 50% faster. So that's cool. So that means it's just going to have faster ticks, but I assume it won't make the duration any shorter. You're just going to get more ticks in the total duration of the thing. It would be... This wouldn't even mean anything if it meant that Black Arrow, like, for example, let's just say it was over in 12 seconds now. Yeah, who knows? Interesting. I just wonder how this is going to feel with, like, the way current BM and MM play, actually. But then let's look at the, like, in quotes, capstone. So when Black Arrow resets the cooldown of aim shot or barb shot, a barrage of dark arrows strikes your target for shadow damage and increases the damage you and your pets deal by 10% for 6 seconds. Seems pretty good. And I imagine a barrage... It should strike your target and enemies around your target. That's like one issue I kind of see with this so far, is both of these are like really single target oriented. And maybe one little thing is you could just make this also just pulse around your target. It's not going to give you much more value, but I feel like just making this, because I don't think... I think hero talents are too theme based, where like someone might just be like, I want to be a Dark Ranger. Like that's what I want to be, right? It shouldn't just be like, okay, well, you're just choosing the single target only thing. Like they should be a little bit more broad than that, I think. But let's keep reading. Maybe I'm missing something, but hopefully there's a way for just reading one line of this. I hope there's a way for you to get some cleave value out of this. Each time Black Arrow deals damage, you have a chance to manifest an undead hound to charge your target and deal shadow damage. Okay, just passive damage with like a little bit of theme built in. I'm sure some people will bat chest about that. You heal for 15% of all shadow damage dealt by you or your pets. Okay, so just it's not leech really, because not a ton of your damage is shadow. Actually, just reading that right now, that sounds like a really small amount of healing. But I mean, that could just be, that could be a number thing, right? Like if they realize that only 10% of your damage is shadow, even as a Dark Ranger, then this is obviously completely horrible. And you would want to have that number buff. So let's again, when we're looking at these, let's focus more on the idea. So basically what this choice node is do you want passive healing, or do you want to get a little bit of a DR when you press exhilaration, and do you want a little bit of a heal when you press survival of the fittest? By the way, this second choice node is fucking awesome. I think you're going to play that almost all the time. That makes exhilaration a way better button. And also is just going to give you a little bit more sustain when you use something like survival of the fittest. Like, I don't think you're going to get... You're not going to, like, get insane value from that, but that's just, like, nice. It's just, like, a nice little defensive buff for Hunter, for sure. I really like Smokescreen. Embrace the Shadows looked like it would need to be buffed significantly to compete with it, but I think it has a point, right? Like, if you're saying choice node is gain a little extra value on active use defensive buttons, and the choice on the other side of that is gain passive healing throughout the whole fight, if those are tuned to be competitive with each other, that is an interesting choice, and it is fight dependent. I don't think it would be with current tuning. I don't think you'd ever take Embrace the Shadows. At least if I'm in my head, I'm counting up how much shadow damage you're actually doing. It doesn't seem like a lot. But I like the idea of this choice node. Big fan. This is actually really good so far. When multi-shot hits a target affected by Black Arrow, a burst of shadow energy erupts, dealing moderate shadow damage to all enemies near the target. Oh, that's great. I don't like that this can occur only once every 6 seconds thing. Because, okay, so when you're designing an ability like this, before you write that second sentence at the end, you're like, okay, well, why would we need to put a cap on this? Maybe they intend this to be really strong. So, like, the reason it has a ICD on it is because it's fucking huge. And in which case, that's kind of acceptable. The thing that's going to really feel bad is when especially early in an expansion, when you're considering multi-shotting, the way that you're not multi-shotting once every 6 seconds, but maybe you could only multi-shot 3 or 4 times in 18 seconds. And instead of spamming them where it makes sense, you're just holding on to multi-shot to make sure that every single multi-shot you do also gets Shadow Surge. Yeah, that says moderate shadow damage. Okay, so here's my take just on the design of this. This needs to fucking own and do a ton of damage for it to have an ICD, because this is going to feel like a maintenance buff in AoE. Do you guys have classes that have weird abilities where you just have to press them once every 4 to 5 seconds in AoE to like keep something up? Death Knights. The Unholy DKs. Remember you had to Scourge Strike before they buffed the duration of that thing like every 5 seconds to have your diseases do max damage? Or something like that. And then they buffed it and it was like fucking awful. Beast Cleave for BM. How long is Beast Cleave? Beast Cleave is 6 seconds. Okay, so they designed this to work exactly with Beast Cleave. Is that how MM works though? And question, with BM for Beast Cleave, do you multi-shot more than once every 6 seconds for max damage? No? Okay, how does MM work? Okay, so it seems like for BM, Shadow Surge is actually good design. But how does MM work? You use multi-shot to make a aimed shot and rapid fire cleave. So you're like basically doing it every other multi-shot damage is negligible. It's just to keep Beast Cleave buff. Okay, I'm just basically... MM doesn't have Beast Cleave? Obviously, yeah. Also, isn't MM weird where like getting multi-shot is like a big investment into AoE and usually not a valuable one? I remember that was the case early in the expansion. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's still going to be the case. Do you think it could be problematic that there's a 6-second ICD on this if you're an MM hunter and not just having it happen on every multi-shot? With BM, it sounds like it wouldn't change anything. But if it doesn't change anything, then maybe it's fine. When I read something like this, I just have really bad PTSD memories come back of being in an Unholy DK and trying to do AoE and then pressing Scourge Strike as a 5-second maintenance buff to make sure that my diseases did max damage. And that was like just a horrible feeling, right? So I hope hunters aren't pigeonholed into that as well. But if it's not, then obviously we're chilling. Anyways, going down the right side. When you apply Black Arrow to a target, you gain the Death Blow or Hunter's Prey effect. What is that? That sounds kill shotty. Does that give you a kill shot proc? It's kill shot for either spec. Okay, so when you apply Black Arrow, you'll basically... The feedback loop is that you would always just hit kill shot directly after it, no matter what the percentage is. The other one is Disengage will chain the closest target to the ground, causing them to move 40% slower until they move 8 yards away. Purely PvP. This just has no... I can't imagine a scenario where this would be valuable in PvE. I mean, there are AoE slows that are more than 40%, so I mean, just completely irrelevant. All shadow damage you and your pets deal is increased by 10%. Pretty basic. And the second part of this is Kill Shot has a 15% chance to generate a charge of aim shot or barbed shot when used on a target affected by Black Arrow, which is already going to happen natty because you just get a Kill Shot proc every single time you press this. And at a 15% chance, it's just going to generate an extra charge of those abilities. So I don't hate this. I think like the vibe of this is good. My concern would be the amount of AoE damage that just totally depends on Shadow Surge's damage value. And I wish Withering Fire also cleaved. This seems fine. Why were people really dooming about this when I first brought it up? I was about to talk about Dark Ranger and people... Maybe I'm missing something. Kind of mid overall. Yeah, but most of the mid is just numeric value. I feel like the synergies seem good. And also this defensive thing right here seems like fucking real good. 50% uptime, single target maintenance buff sucks. Oh, no. No. Okay, we need to stop. Okay, having it be 50% uptime is maybe too long of a cooldown. That can be talked about, but let's not talk about like maintenance buff. It's like when I think of an annoying maintenance buff, I think of something that's like less than 10 seconds that makes you press an ability that doesn't feel good to like keep it up. And maybe the ability is the actual maintenance buff. But like putting a dot on the target, I wouldn't consider that a maintenance buff because you also want to press this button to do damage optimally. Like there's a very high chance / Blizzard is stupid if this isn't true, where pressing Black Arrow is actually your highest damage ability you could possibly press on single target if you count the single global and how much damage it will do over 16 seconds, right? So I wouldn't call that a maintenance buff. That's just a dot. But I do agree with you, though. Like, if for whatever reason this actually ends up being pretty fun, let's say you take, like, the focus recovery of this, like the first one, and then, like, the kill shot synergy feels great with other talent changes and stuff. Like, let's just say this feels good. This all revolves around having Black Arrow on your target. And at a very baseline, this has like a 50% uptime. So wouldn't it just be problematic maybe just at the beginning that you're kind of building your class's synergy and feel through this, and then it's just only for half of the time, you know? Like, that seems weird. Maybe, but at the same time, is if it's powerful enough, maybe it's good, right? Like, for example, if it's super powerful, then you would have little 15-second, like, in quotes, burn windows, and then you'd have a really unique damage profile. But then how would you weigh that against, if this is what's making it all work, how does your class feel outside of this window? Like shit, maybe, you know? Kill shot is just not good for BM. Okay, right now, right? I mean, I'm sure talent trees are going to undergo a lot of changes. I imagine it's probably not too far out of the scope of things for kill shot to maybe be a more valuable or good button to press in the expansion, right? Like, they could just add a talent tomorrow or bake it into a talent where it's like when you kill shot, your pet fucking attacks the target, and it's called Kill Claw. I'm just making this up, and it just does like fucking giga damage, and now kill shot feels insane, you know? Like, I don't know. They could do all kinds of shit. They could do that in 2 seconds. But I agree with you. If you're trying to be more practical, if you're trying to make the argument for a spell and someone's like, kill shot feels bad for BM, and you're like, so having kill shot be a big vibe in this build is going to feel bad, hitting you with a, oh, well, maybe it'll just be different next expansion. That is true, but it's also like, how many times could you say that about something and then it just doesn't happen, you know? I mean, I would think they would look to work on that. Like, if they're trying to incentivize you to press a button through talents rotationally or any other way, and that button doesn't feel great to press, that should be like one of the first things you look to change. So hopefully they do that. Black Arrow during true shot windows leads to more degenerate gameplay hunters have been trying to avoid, where we overcap our charges and encourage us to avoid using our toolkit. So you're saying that the true shot window right now for Hunter is already so locked down to where you don't want to do anything else other than that, and you're saying Black Arrow will make it feel even worse if you have to do a single thing within your true shot window? Okay. What's the solution to that? Because I'm trying to think, like, okay, I don't know Hunter too well, but I'm just assuming you're saying, when you say true shot, you're saying your cooldown window. Every class can relate to what it feels like to have your cooldowns up. How do most classes make it work to where when your cooldown is up, it feels okay to not be doing damage or pressing a button? Is it that true shot is just such a precise timing to like get your exact best damage window out? You have to do some, I mean, that's just the problem, right? You guys said that right now the MM Hunter true shot window is just degenerate. I don't really know what that means, but I'm assuming it means like you have to do either something unintuitive or just very precisely to get the most damage out. And if you miss even one global, it like totally fucks all of it. I'd say that qualifies as degenerate. What is it? They said they're overcapping resources. Oh my God, I feel so bad for you. Is that true? In true shot, to do top damage, do you cap your resource on purpose? Like, the correct decision is to let your resource cap? Bro, if that's true, I feel so bad for you, man. That is my biggest pet peeve with any DPS class. Anytime a cooldown makes you cap a resource on purpose, I hate the design. It makes me so mad. Like Unholy DK, dude. Oh my God. Like, as an Unholy DK, when you're trying to spend runes to not cap on runic, to not like have your runes cap out, and then also you're trying to not, you're trying to press Scourge Strike because you need to pop your wounds. And if you try to spend 2 runes, you'll spawn too many wounds. And then also during this time, you're getting Death Coil procs, so you're about to cap on runic power, and you can't spend it all without capping on something else. Just that entire feedback loop when you get procs feels so bad, right?